Okay. So let's just start going through. I apologize, I haven't actually completely read everything yet. Got partway there, and start talking about any of the finance-related resolutions. So, did anybody have any questions on the monthly financial reports or the budget transfers? Nobody? It looks hunky-dory. Okay, so that takes us down to Reso number 97, the budget transfer authorization, which Jim talked to us about this in the Planning Public Works Committee meeting. It's basically the result of the snowplow truck being ordered in 2021 and arriving in 2023. So the funds were encumbered and then had to get moved again and then re-encumbered again. Is that correct?
They were encumbered.
Yes.
They rolled into.
Yes.
Twice, really.
So, right, since they can't be encumbered, or shouldn't be encumbered 2 years in a row,
Yes.
that rolled into unappropriated funds. So
And now it's finally
Reappropriating it.
coming and we're reappropriating it. So congratulations, we can buy our 2021 snowplow.
But officially, just so everybody knows, that means we'll be increasing the 2023 budget by $245,000. So it'll show when we go to close out the year that our budget is actually.
Okay. I'm just making note of that. Any questions on that? Okay, number 98, the health insurance services. So I had a quick question, and it's probably just my lack of a health insurance plan. So when we, down under your whereas, which is bronze 4, silver 2, gold 17, those sections, you're indicating the different prices in, is that our contribution or the employee's contribution, those numbers?
So on the resolution itself, those are the town's
The
HSA or
town's.
HRA contributions to the
Okay.
employee per year.
Okay, and
That's not the cost though. That's the HRA, the employee pays them some.
Yes.
And then the town pays some.
yes, okay, so there's more, okay, that's what I just want to confirm that, so.
Right, so in the attachment actually has the detail, right? So the bronze total, I mean, and it all ranges depending on whether the person chooses single subscriber and spouse, right? Or subscriber and child or family.
Mhm.
So there's all the different rates.
Yep, okay, just wondering. And the 2023 plan year, this is showing it's going to be 409,000 and change, and we budgeted 449 and change. Did we budget that amount intending for extra employees or just to give us some extra space?
I can speak to that. So we had budgeted with all of the employees that we had started in the beginning of the year. However, as you'll see throughout the agenda,
Yeah.
we have some changes going on. So that would be the 409 would be the cost of our current employees with our current elections.
Okay,
So what that's indicating to the town board is that we do have enough money budgeted to go forward with
That's what I
these
was-
insurance options.
Mhm.
But you also want some buffer in case someone
Mhm.
changes plans
Yep.
and stuff like that. But the only major change this year, though, is they are no longer offering the gold 18 plan. It has been replaced now with the gold 17 plan.
okay,
The cost is somewhat similar and the plan is exactly the same as gold 18.
okay. Did anybody have any questions on that? Generally, people have been fairly happy with the plan?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, good. All right, the next one is number 99, the adoption of the Town of Canandaigua Fiscal Operations Policy. I didn't get a chance to see this until this morning. And
That's in this package somewhere?
that's attachment number
Attachment
6.
six.
So here, I've already got it here if you want to look at mine. But this, it's pretty lengthy, and I feel like, I don't know if you guys want to read through it or talk about it now, or what you would like to do, or Jared or Doug, if you'd like to talk about it.
You want to just walk through it?
Yeah, I would-
Sarah's gonna pull it up on
Okay,
this.
thanks, Rick. I would say 2 before I'm pulling it up because I still can't print from this.
so I could print my own.
Did you bring down their packets, Jared, the two?
Yeah,
You
yeah, they
did?
have them in there.
Oh, yes, oh, it's in here, so it's it's about this far deep. So,
Could you do search?
All right,
it's
now my
after the
computer
one
wants to-
before it is these.
It's
This is the one before it, so look for that in
So
there.
it's on the screen
It's
for
attachment
everybody.
6, so.
If you wanna-
Like I'm gonna be able to read that from here?
Yeah.
Stop.
We can zoom in a little bit.
Just after that.
Yeah, I would bring it up too and look at it on mine, but there you go. Good. Sheet, my computer won't stop
Feel free.
going down. As we go through this, Doug and I had met and we wanted to really clean up our fiscal policy and our structure and format, make it as clear as we could. There are some discrepancies between what we had and what we needed to have per state law. So I just want to say I appreciate Doug and the time that he put in doing this and throwing this all together. We met several times to go through it and kind of fine tune it. After discussion with Adeline, there's still a few more fine tuning things that we have in here, just a few words here and there that we need to change or switch. So I would just go through policy statements, pretty straightforward. I mean, there's no debating what we are as far as our town and the setup that we have within our town. For the roles of the town supervisor, those are pulled from state code. Chief fiscal officer is pulled from state law, so we have that there. The role of the town manager, we have the town manager, and we also have the budget officer that is coming up in here. One question Adeline had about the budget officer cannot be a town board member, has to be a town resident. So those are two specific
That's a state
per law,
That's
per
a state
state
law.
law, not a town decision in there. One change is one of the roles of the supervisor is that should be spelled out, again, per state law, is the supervisor is in charge of the receipt of all taxes. Doesn't mean the supervisor is the tax collector, but is just in charge, the responsibility for oversight falls on the supervisor. So that is another thing that we need to have on there that we haven't really haven't really had based on following, making sure we're in line with town law. Any questions on that first part?
I just think we should make it say supervisor of the receipt of taxes, so that it doesn't sound like you're supervising the
Right.
receiver of taxes.
How does it read in state code? Is that copied and pasted?
What's it say?
Supervisor receipt of taxes.
Yeah.
So that's
Because
copied
you're-
from state code.
Yeah, because you're making sure that the taxes have come in and then gone basically into the town's accounts essentially.
Yeah.
Oh, I understand what it's doing, it's just.
But that was copied, right?
that's- well,
But supervisor receipt of taxes, there was
still
no
have
of in there
issue
on the
with it.
state side of things.
It might be copied from New York State, I'm still not a fan of how it's written. So, and the other one I mentioned earlier was under chief.
I don't understand that, Mike. Can you just help me? What's the part that you don't?
Instead,
Oh, I fully understand it.
so it should say supervisor of receipt of taxes rather than supervisor of receipt of taxes.
Or it could say supervise receipt of taxes, either
Shall
or.
provide oversight to the collection and receipt
Just the
of
title.
taxes.
Just the
Just
title.
the title.
Oh,
Or
the title.
supervisor receipt.
Oh,
It's just, the title is
Yeah.
just confusing, so.
the title.
'Cause it makes it appear that-
So
That's
we
all.
can add the of, supervisor of,
Whatever,
supervisor.
that doesn't matter.
Of
So-
receiver of taxes?
But that's what I'm saying, it's not the supervisor of the receiver of taxes, they're supervising the receipt of taxes.
Right.
It's two different things, that's why I'm saying the titles is not great.
We could just throw the of, supervisor of receipt of taxes. Is
Yeah,
that fit?
Either turn into a verb or
Okay.
put an of, your choice, I don't
Let's
care.
throw an of there.
So being the town's receiver of taxes, I report to Jared, is that what that's saying?
Well,
No, that's why I'm saying.
That's the touching point.
That's my whole point, it's
Because-
not well written.
Right.
I mean, I work with Jared, he signs off on the receipts when I pay him in January, he
correct.
signs that all up and I give the money to Jessica and
So
you
what,
guys do what you do.
what I feel like you're asking is more of an organizational chart question that we do need to address
Okay.
in the future.
Definitely.
But
Okay.
this,
That's fine.
from state law, is technically Jared is responsible to make sure that the taxes come in, receiver of taxes gets those, and then those get filed.
Supervise, just do the verb.
Yeah.
Supervise?
So by
Yes, then it
signing,
makes it less.
Yes.
It's just the payments to
Showing
the
us the
town.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
Then let's change that to supervise receipt of taxes from a request.
Except for these are all titles of a position.
I was just gonna say that, everybody else is listed as their title, and
Yeah,
so can you just
Thank
move
you.
receipt of taxes to the other side of the dash?
oh, receipt of
receipt of
taxes
taxes supervisor.
Yeah, like supervisor dash,
Yeah, either way.
I liked your idea, just adding the word.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Receipt of
Either works
taxes.
for me. I
Wait,
just,
all right,
it's,
let's do it.
it's a dumb little thing. And then, speaking of dumb little things, back to chief fiscal officer, I would just like that to be gender neutral there with his, her instead of his,
Yeah,
so.
Okay.
That's the only other
yeah,
one.
so shall deposit and secure in his or her name under chief fiscal officer.
Or their name.
It should be his, her, really, but depends how modern you want to be.
I was gonna say, then it should be there.
Or in thou's name.
Oh, we had talked
Now we
about
said
Yeah, we
that.
did talk about that.
We talked about changing
I
that.
almost feel like we're in the weeds right now.
Oh, we've spent a lot of time in the weeds the last couple of weeks.
Feel like Ant-Man, huh?
Yeah, exactly. All right, so any other questions under town supervisor?
No.
Any questions at all? Okay.
When you come to the, oh, you're gonna keep on.
Okay. Town manager, again, these are pulled from town law with the established position, chief administrative officer. And these are all pulled from either state law or town code. Town manager may also serve as budget officer, and that is listed in there as well. Any questions?
CAO sounds an awful lot like cow to me, Doug.
Well, let me ask this question, Jared.
Yeah.
Per New York state law, the budget officer is the supervisor. Am I right when I said that?
By default.
By default,
Yes.
if there's no one else, if there's no one else, nothing else,
Yeah.
then, correct.
So, again, it's just wordsmithing, but budget officer may be appointed by the town supervisor. Should that say may be delegated? Because it's the role of the budget officer that you would delegate to somebody else, isn't it?
No, it's actually.
It's an appointment.
It's an appointment, it's
Yeah.
state law.
Okay.
It's
I'm
Yeah.
good.
typically.
I'm
It's
good.
an- Yeah, it's a yearly appointment.
Okay, I'm good.
Okay. Any other questions on that? Good so far? Any ubs that anybody wants to throw in? They're there for us.
Wow.
Nothing? Okay, moving on. All right, town clerk. Again, pulled from state law. And the town clerk has, Jean served as receiver of taxes. That's an appointment.
We just need that town of Canandaigua law number in there for it.
Well,
It was
that-
a resolution.
It's a resolution.
We're
Yeah.
gonna have to amend that. I'm sorry, I should have caught that before we got the agenda out. It was a Town of Canandaigua resolution in 2013, I think we said, right?
Yep.
That's all, it's sitting on my
Right.
desk, because I keep
So-
going to go.
So that also something,
Yeah, I was gonna say, do we need to make that
Yeah.
a law?
no, we need to make it an annual appointment.
Yeah, that's what I would suggest.
We need to do that at our organizational meeting where we have,
When all the other.
we do all the other appointments that we appoint Jean or whomever going forward as receiver of
Can
taxes.
you do it per the term of the clerk instead of every year?
It's a 4-year term, right?
Right.
You could, I think that the way that I read state law was that it was specifically designed so that in the case, nothing against either one of you, but
Right,
in the case where the town board lost the confidence, they can take that away. So either doing it by year or by whichever case. I mean, either way, the town board can take that ability away. That's
Right.
not an elected.
Correct. Right.
It's one sentence once a year.
I'd rather have it an annual appointment.
Right.
Well, no matter what, do we need
to?
to make a law that it's an annual appointment?
No,
No.
I need to fix this. I'll have to do a red line version for you for Monday night.
Yeah.
Sorry, you guys, I
Okay.
didn't get a chance.
Because I think
That's okay.
it's implied with the state, with code, with state law, so we don't need to make our own law regarding that.
No.
We just need to make sure we
Okay,
have that resolution. I mean, Gene's been living on
Yeah.
a prayer for the last 10 years. And still doing a great job without that annual appointment.
Exactly. Oh, because the resolution says it shall be
Right,
the
it
office of the
continues.
town clerk,
Yeah,
is what the resolution
Mhm.
says.
yeah, so we'll end up superseding that with a new resolution at
Yeah.
some point and fixing that,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Okay.
So,
The organizational meeting. and
Yeah,
everything.
right.
But
Yeah.
you're locked in for now, no, right? You got
Oh,
to finish
taxes
it up.
are done.
Taxes
Yeah,
are
you can't
already
chase
done.
down anything,
Exactly.
anything floating out there, you can't hand it off.
So just an operational question here. Are you appointing a budget officer?
Yes. So there will be, yeah, the budget officer will be appointed annually.
Have we done that this year?
Yes.
We did, yeah.
Who's the budget officer this year?
Right now, I'm the budget officer. So at the organizational meeting, I appointed myself budget officer at that meeting.
Okay.
But you really didn't have to because you're by default budget officer, correct?
No, it should still be an
It was a
appointment.
change too.
It should still be an appointment,
Or just an acknowledgement.
an annual acknowledgement. Yeah,
Because they appoint one every year. They have to appoint
Yeah.
one, so.
so, I mean, since we're kind of going on there and you brought that up, I will be, so at the next meeting, at the Monday board meeting, I'll be reappointing Doug as budget officer. So he will
That's
be
my
appointed,
question.
yeah. So as of Monday, I will reappoint Doug as budget officer.
That's my question.
Continue for the remainder of the year. Yeah.
Thank
Are
you.
you gonna do that under your report?
Yeah, I'll just do it there. Doesn't need to be an agenda item, I'll just do it during my business. All right, any other questions on taxes? Budget development guidelines?
Were there any significant changes in this part? This is the part that I hadn't fully gotten through yet.
It pulls from I mean, we've got a pretty solid budget development guideline of looking at other organizations and looking at other towns and how they do things and horror stories I've heard at conferences.
It's just putting it all in one place
Or
kind of thing.
where town board members had to foil budget documents because they weren't being provided them.
Great.
Yeah, I mean, it's some of the things that's pretty bad. So we are in an excellent position. And a lot of this was rolled over as far as the timeline.
I'm just questioning, I will read through it before Monday, but I'm just
Yeah.
questioning, were there any significant changes made in
No,
that
this
section?
part wasn't
Or it was
changed. This
just-
part, we didn't
just
tweak. It was
combining
amendment.
everything?
No, there wasn't, we had made an adjustment to the budget development guidelines when we adopted those, I think it was the February meeting.
Mhm.
And then this was pretty much copied and pasted from that.
Yeah.
Because of that, we had cleaned up some of the stuff in that, like for instance, I think it was the second paragraph, where it talks about some of the roles of the town supervisor and the involvement and all that
So,
stuff.
yeah, some
We
of those
cleaned up
things that
some of
we
that stuff.
had to be done
Yeah.
versus didn't, yeah.
Okay,
And then the last piece of this just is the reference to all the other financial related policies. It's
Mhm.
just, we've never had a document that really referenced
All of
everything,
them.
where this will be one policy that kind of has everything in one
Mhm.
place.
Under additional policies, says the town board of the town of Canandaigua is given direction to certainly
Mm.
There you go.
need to lose the LY.
Thank you, Terry.
Or we could move certainly to the town board of the town of Canada.
Or just
has
put
certainly
of,
given
certain
direction.
of,
Take the
yeah.
whole word off. You can certainly do that.
Okay,
Sometimes we have too much fun.
so is everybody hunky-dory with that for now? We can get back to the main agenda?
Is that gonna, with the amendments, is that gonna cause, a second motion, or is he just gonna do it as discussed?
Whatever, the only two things I see is the word of and.
So, and those are,
LY.
yeah, and those
And
are,
his, her,
And fixing where it says local law number.
Yeah.
To resolutions.
those,
So, those are minor.
those are minor. I would
Okay.
call those as just proofing
Proof,
changes and not,
Typographical.
yeah, and not functional changes.
Okay.
So I think we can approve it just as is, just approve it with those edits, because they don't edit the content. Okay, I'll hand it back to you.
Yeah.
Edwin.
Okay, so we are into the petty cash for Parks and Recreation. Any questions on that? They're increasing it to $350. Okay, and then if there's no questions on that, then 101, the amendments to the fee schedule. Again, I haven't fully gotten through all this yet, Jean, but does this have the change we made about the pavilion? It does, it's in there too, okay,
Yep.
great. Okay.
Yep.
So, and then the other ones were, what is it? The disc format, is that like CDs you're talking about? Okay,
Yep.
so. Are we missing documentation, or, I mean, do we still have it in paper
We
form?
just
or something?
can't give people a CD.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, but we still have access to the information somehow.
It has nothing to do with that.
That would be burning off a CD and giving it to them. If they wanted it on a CD,
Oh, you're saying people are asking
Yeah.
for information in disc
if they
format?
did back in the old days,
Yeah,
people would ask for it to be burned on a CD so they
And
could
it
put
was-
that in their
It
computer.
was an item on our fee schedule, so
Yeah.
we need to remove it as an option, so they can't,
oh,
because
okay,
we can't offer it.
got it, I misunderstood that,
Thank
okay,
you.
so, but we do still have the ability to read our documents, that's what I was
Yeah,
wondering,
that's
okay.
just providing it. But now they can get a flash drive.
Yes, very cool, okay,
Just a
and,
question. I'm sorry.
you go ahead.
On the fee schedule. So it's not on here. We had an issue that just came up with the development office that I didn't know was happening about the fee for roofs. And unfortunately, I don't even have, can you go to the website and just pull up the fee schedule so they can see what I'm talking about? So currently, our fee schedule for the development office for permits includes alterations, structure changes, expansions, et cetera, et cetera. The exact verbiage she'll have to pull up and type it. And the fee is $50 plus 20 cents a square foot, a minimum of $100. And then a little bit further down in the same category, it talks about unlisted permits. If it's not specifically listed, it's an unlisted permit, and there's a $50 fee. What I have just found out this week is it has been common practice that code enforcement has been charging $50 for a roof permit as a unlisted fee, as opposed to the calculation for the verbiage of structure, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I guess my question is, what do you want to charge? And then it would be helpful to make it clear.
This for roof replacement?
Yeah, so tear off, whether or not includes the plywood and all that stuff, replacement shingles, yeah. Usually it's paid by the contractor comes in, so.
There isn't here.
So this would just be adjusting it.
No, so that's under commercial, so you have to look at the individual, single family, right? So here's what I'm talking about, construction, expansion, structural alteration, including accessory structures, is $50 plus 20 cents a square foot, minimum $100, or unlisted
Right there.
permit is $50.
Yep.
But there's nothing in there for a single family residential dwelling that references
A roof.
specifically a roof.
Yeah, 'cause
How would someone know if they were replacing their roof, that they were required to do this?
Well, they have to get a permit. Any contractor knows that they have to come get a permit.
What if they're doing it by themselves though, like how, there's nothing in
We
there.
catch them
even-
all the time, we stop
They still
them.
have
They
to
have to
get
come
it.
get a permit.
Well, no, I understand that, but what,
That's just a
what
code
indicates to
enforcement.
people that that's something they would need?
They-
So it's-
wouldn't unless they
It's
ask.
not
No,
on
there's,
there.
there's building code that
I mean,
actually
if-
talks about.
Well,
that,
if you were
so-
doing it yourself and just
That's what
went
I'm
and did
saying.
it,
Yeah, but we'd find out. We'd
Right,
still-
exactly,
You
but-
get a notice from us, because we have to
Yeah.
inspect the water shield and everything else to make
Oh,
sure it's
okay,
installed
yeah.
correctly and stuff.
So if somebody gets up on the roof,
Essentially, yeah. If they're gonna do some sort of alteration to the roof, they have to have a permit for it.
so but that permit would mean that someone would go out and climb up on that roof and look at the water shield or look at
Yes,
whatever.
physically
Yes,
check
we do
it.
that.
Yeah,
We do that.
physically, not just stand at the bottom and say,
get up there.
thanks for collecting $50 and.
Now, there's ways, code enforcement does this, so a lot of times, especially in the newer development, and I was sharing this story with somebody recently, because I was out with Dale one day in the development, and he's like, wait a minute, and we're listening, because you can hear the air gun. You know how many nails they just put into that roof, so you know what they're doing or not doing, and then yes, they have to climb up and inspect the water shield, and make sure that that was done, so, but yeah, the question really is, the fee. And I didn't know, Chris had primarily been listing them as unlisted permits as $50. And so the first one that I ran into this week where I was trying to help somebody, I'm like, I think this is a $100 permit, but now I'm not sure.
I think I should say roof in there because when I look at structural alteration, if I'm doing a roof replacement, I don't think of a structural alteration.
Yeah, that's what I was.
I think I'm maintaining the existing structure, so I think we need to specify roof
Roof replacement or
in
repairing.
this. Could be the same fee, that 50 plus 20, however, but I think it needs to be clearly specified, because somebody might look at that and say, well, it doesn't say roof.
That's what I was saying, I'm like, how would they know?
I'm not doing an addition, I'm not doing anything.
And it depends on what's going on. I mean, there's plenty of roofs that are being replaced right now that are $7,000, $10,000. I mean, you know, they're full tear off and put on and stuff, especially after the hail damage on the north end of the town. I mean, every one of those have been coming in $10,000+.
Oh, and that's,
My roof was 15.
that's cheap
Yeah, I would say
too.
that's cheap.
Yeah.
Mine was 12 just for half of my project.
So how many square feet did you do?
I don't remember because it kept changing because they kept trying to pull it back and blend it in.
Do you know, Gene, how many square feet you
20
did?
square? Did I do 20 bundles?
That'd be
20 square?
2,000 square feet. So you'd pay an extra $450 for a permit. How many square feet did you do? Do you know?
Probably 1,800.
So call it 2,000. So again, it's $400 plus $50. That's the question.
That's insane.
That's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot.
I'm sorry.
That is a lot.
What, I mean, what does it cost the town to go out and inspect it? Does it cost you more than $50 or $100?
Oh, for sure. I mean, yeah, because I mean, you're going out at least twice, maybe 3 times. Figure an hour to go and do an inspection and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, $20, $30. So you're easily $100, $150 minimum without factoring in the benefits.
And I don't think we've raised the roof permit fee in many years.
No, and we could always add something separate, like if you want it to be
Separate line.
$50 or if you want it to be $100 or whatever, we can spell that out. It's
Mhm.
just, right now, it's not clear.
So John, is your point that we take away that square footage?
No, my point is that if you're basing the fee on how many square feet are being
It's gonna
done,
be very expensive.
it can get to be an expensive
Right.
item.
You could
Absolutely.
be easily 5% of your whole roof
Right.
project just
Right.
with an application fee,
Right,
and that's a lot.
that is a lot.
Maybe we should send this to ordinance?
No.
No, I don't
it's
think
not-
so.
It's not a lot. I mean, I think what Doug is suggesting is what I'm hearing is add a line specifically for roofs.
Right.
And
And
have it
whatever
like,
it is.
I mean,
It
like
could be
I
a
said,
flat fee.
Flat fee is what I would
Flat
put
fee.
in,
And it could
yeah.
be up to, could be an up to fee.
Well, if you
it
think
needs
it's,
to be a flat fee.
if you think it's
because-
$50 to go out every time, and you're gonna go out 3 times, let's
Mhm.
break even on it, you know what I mean?
Or even
Cover our
$100
costs.
with-
That's what
Right,
my
That's what I
right,
was
cover
right.
costs. We don't need to do
We
anything
have,
more
we
than
have
that.
not increased the roof permit fees in years.
Yeah.
Because even when I was back in the development office, it was like $50.
Well, so the other thing, and I was talking to Allison about this because she's the person that these applications come into and she's processing this. And she's like, Doug, currently we don't even ask how many square foot of roof they're
Yeah.
putting on, right? And so that may not be the best way to do this particular one.
I think a flat fee makes
Flat
most
fee
So are we
would be
thinking
cleaner.
what are we thinking, 150 or
100,
100?
150, somewhere in there.
100?
We get $100 and then adjust it.
I mean, we're doubling it essentially,
I'll
right?
second that.
Yeah.
100?
That would cover our costs.
Yeah.
2 inspections.
2 inspections, right.
Do we want to add, can we add that at the meeting?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it a separate line in the fee schedule?
I would add, I think we had roof,
Do you want my office to do that? Do a
Please.
red line?
That
Do
would be
that.
great,
Yep,
if you don't
we
mind.
can do that.
yeah, $100
We'll get that
flat
out.
fee.
That's what the city of Canandaigua has on their fee schedule. For
Yeah.
roofs, $100.
And we'll go 99.
It's not like we have a choice which one. to
We're more
go with.
builder friendly. We only charge $99.
And that's almost going to cover our costs, you
Yeah,
think?
more or less, depends on the situation, but yeah.
Okay. All right. Any other questions on the fee schedule?
Sorry, it was unrelated, but it
It's
just
okay.
came up.
102, purchasing the new Tandem X truck with snowplow equipment. Since Jim's not here, I don't know, Terry, if you, oh, is he? Okay.
Well, it'll be, The truck will be plowing snow until probably 2026.
Six.
You know, so,
This is, as we just
It's just
recently
getting in
saw
the
with our
queue.
2021 order
Right.
coming in this year, so it's, yeah.
it could
Yeah,
be
this is-
later.
Maybe,
This is another truck, not the one.
maybe
we
when I
just-
have grandchildren,
Not
the
the
new
one we just
snowplow.
moved money around for. This is another, this is a different one.
Well, I guess it's in the
Yeah,
queue for,
Yeah, for,
you know,
for-
if we don't, price will go up and
and we'll miss it.
we'll be at the back of the line, so.
Mhm. All right, great, so no further questions on that one. The next one, 103, is GPS equipment, again, for the highway department. Any questions on that one? Okay, if no questions. 104. This is the electro scanning that we're starting pretty quickly, I believe. They said at the
Yeah,
next
next
PPW meeting,
They've
so,
been digging holes
So,
down by me.
yeah.
Ready for it.
Dug a hole out by me that,
why are we just doing it by your two houses?
luck of the draw.
But everybody else at the water shut down. I didn't-
We're the ones most likely to have water.
You're the most problematic residents, is that what you're
Yeah.
saying? You cause the most problems at your house?
We live on straight
Okay, good
roads.
to know.
Put on the contract and the insurance and attached to the agenda. Contract is, okay. We'll work with the insurance.
Okay, if anybody has any other, no further questions on the electric
No,
scanning?
go ahead.
Okay. 105, this is that lovely thing we talked about in PPW about the federal government's not completely unfunded mandate, but mostly unfunded mandates.
Or you can call it intrusive.
Obtrusive mandates, there you go.
Intrusive,
I mean, it's a good thing, we're checking for any sort of lead lines and what have you, but it's,
and next you know it's
Expensive.
gonna come replace them.
yep, so. Any questions on that one, 105? Okay, 106, this is the MRB design of sidewalks on North Road, the MRB agreement. Not to exceed, or not, it's not to exceed, the cost straight up of 62.5.
I've had 2 residents of North Road in the last 24 hours ask me for sidewalks.
There you go. Did you tell them to come to the meeting?
I
And
told them it's on its way.
so,
It just can't be on its way.
We read your mind.
look, it's already on the agenda.
Well, that's complicated.
And similar 107 is Outhouse Road. Any residents of Outhouse Road? I don't think there are any residents of
Bunch
Outhouse
of
Road.
The
pirates.
resident east.
Pirates.
The pirates, that's right. They don't talk to the town much before, or get permits before anything that they do at the
Say
pirates.
are.
Those apartments are on Outhouse Road, aren't they?
That's true, yes, thank you, yes, you're correct, those are on Outhouse Road, so. The next one I had that was finance related was all the way down to,
Why don't we just keep going? Do you mind doing that?
if you want to.
Yeah, it just, I mean, I don't think many of them need much conversation, but we should just, in
Any
case there's
questions
questions about them.
on the seekers, 108, 109? Short-term rentals is 110.
That was a very laborious task, getting
Yes.
that short-term rental ordinance finalized, but I think we have something that addresses the immediate needs, and we'll see how it goes. Now, the one thing we did do, had some conversation about the fees associated with this ordinance, and we might want to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah, we were talking about, basically they're getting, it's not a special use permit, but it's kind of like a special use permit, and we were planning on charging them probably for a 3-year term, I think is where we ended up with a 3-year rolling permit. And we had discussed a charge for that being either $300 per year, $400 per year, $500 per year. Those were all floated out during the meeting, and we had some residents that are short-term rental owners indicating that $300 per year is pretty low in comparison to other townships, so.
Well, we have one person make that comment, so I don't know if
Well,
that's
Lindsay had said
indicative
it
of,
too, but-
yeah, everyone, but yes, I agree with everything you said.
I think the recommendation rate was $400.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where we were settling, but I didn't know if anybody had any thoughts on it.
well, I was thinking about it and I talked to Jan about it. I just wonder maybe we should go with 300 to start the process off. Reason being, you know, if we had 200 units in the town of Canandaigua, they're not all equal, they're not all same number of bedrooms, same location, same view, that kind of thing. So people on the lower end, $1,200
Could be
is
significant.
$1,200. $300 a year for 3 years, we get it under $1,000 for that 3-year span. Can always take it up. Taking it down would be a much more difficult task, I think, so. I'd just like people to think about 300 instead of 400.
That makes sense.
What are your thoughts on, would you want to adjust it based on units going forward, or just kind of see how it plays out?
Let's see how it plays out. I mean, we're kind of getting into uncharted territory here. We've only had a small fraction of people actually, come for the permit, so we don't know what we'd really be getting into. As long as we can cover our costs, and, $300 would do it. You had an estimate, I think, Doug, of $40,000 to $50,000 a year. Software plus time equals time.
That's rough.
So if $300 a year,
If we can
200
cover.
units would,
And I'll piggyback on what Terry is saying. I don't think a smaller short-term rental or a lower occupancy short-term rental is going to take any less time than one that has more occupants renting. It's more the administrative effort that's going to take place to register people and get them signed up. I don't think we're going to be out policing unless there are problems or there's complaints. So, I think a flat fee is appropriate.
So if everybody came forward at $60,000 a year, how much is the software?
Well, the software itself is like
Different
20,
levels.
but then, there's a fair amount of time and stuff, and we may actually have to, there's different layers with the software.
Right.
Now we're at the base, we may have to bump that, so that's why I said roughly 40, 50, 60, somewhere ballpark.
And it's gonna-
ballpark.
So we're likely to be upside down on this the first year.
Yes,
Well,
Well, we are.
yeah, but
yes.
your software costs are going to be written off for however
They're gonna
long.
load-
Except that
That's
every
it.
software I've ever dealt
Software
with, it gets the update every year. So
Yeah.
that's not going away, so.
We're also gonna have the zoning officer dedicating some time to it, I think, as well, so.
I'm still with Terry, we have to start somewhere. But it'd be nice if we could get close to break even. And we're also
Thanks
assuming
for
that
that.
I don't know what he said.
all 200 people are gonna sign up too, right?
Exactly.
That's.
Well, they're actually literally going to be getting a citation or a violation
And
order.
that's where some of that time is, once we build the
so,
database, that's where
exactly.
some of the time is going in.
So we are gonna begin enforcing it now, so, truly enforcing it, and so.
So I would say as long as within the first 3 years, we're breaking even, I think we're okay, so I think we're okay to start. I can support 3. Start there, and then even go incrementally over the next couple of years to get to that 4 level.
So you want a $900 3-year
But-
permit?
Yeah, but kind of step it up over time.
And maybe by that time, we could figure out some of the bigger, more profitable ones to have some different fee structure than just across the board. Somebody has a VRBO out and looking at a farm field, versus
Can we make it
popular.
just a teeny bit cleaner and maybe a teeny bit more covering our costs, and maybe make it $1,000 3-year permit, which would be like $333?
333,
333.
Will you charge it per year or for lump
It's the
sum?
one 3-year.
Jane, you're saying no to that?
No, I would think it's something different.
Okay, but if it's a 1-year fee, that's easier.
I
No,
still
it's
support
3 years.
$300.
Yeah.
So
Are you doing it per year or are you doing a 3-year?
They would
3
pay,
years.
they would
300
buy it for your
once
permit.
Per
every,
year, and
For
they
a
pay for
3-year
3 years upfront.
Right,
So it's a 3-year permit.
it's
it's a 3-year permit, is my
It's a
understanding,
3-year
yes.
permit.
So you're not dealing with that random penny.
Mm-mm.
It's not gonna
If it was,
right.
So it's a straight up 3-year permit.
You have one of those little things with pennies in it.
yeah.
That was what I was getting at too.
Where we
She
have
just
that-
wanna collect $333.
Oh, no, it's a straight up 3-year permit, whatever we're talking about. We're just busting it down to a yearly cost, but it's gonna cost them straight up, for a 3-year permit, so.
And we can track it a little bit more as we go through this, and every time.
That would be
we say
helpful.
Transitions. and
If we know what we're actually
see-
spending,
And it's a 3-year permit from the date of issue.
Yes.
yes. It's rolling. We were trying to think of you.
Is that something you want adjusted on the fee schedule Monday night, or is this something you want to adjust the fee schedule in May?
I think you need to do it at May because technically all you're doing is setting the public hearing.
Okay,
So it's
set
gotta
it for
go to
May.
the law.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll go through it along with the mail.
Yeah, because the law is not in place yet, so.
So are we doing 1,000? Are we doing 900? What are we doing?
I think we should have this discussion again in front of the public on Monday, so we'll just,
Or do it in May when you're actually debating the fee
or May,
schedule.
yeah, whatever you want to
But
do.
I've got to get a
but-
draft fee schedule ready for May.
Draft it for 900 and then if it changes, you guys can do
Yeah,
it.
I think
on the
300 a
fly.
year, I think we could probably get traction with that.
Okay. Okay, very good. I'll get that ready for the May schedule, May agenda.
Okay, I am
Thank God
actually,
that one's finally done.
it's not done yet, it's almost done. Don't say that.
Goes unpunished, right?
Oh, my God.
Don't get ahead of yourself. And I think Sarah said, would something like the fun's just beginning?
Yeah, maybe.
I-
I whispered it.
Yeah.
That way to Jess.
I am gonna go
Clarifying
ahead
the
to the finance-related resos here on this too, because we still have to get in our
We
bid
have to do
meeting
the bid
today.
meeting.
So that pops us up to Reso 118, the appointment of a code enforcement officer. And is this a new position? Are we creating a new position or just?
Filling a vacant position.
Yeah, okay,
So, and this is less than what was budgeted, but it's an increase for him, but
Yep.
also the caveat once he gets his certifications and stuff.
And is there a planned hire to replace, to fill his position that he's leaving?
We're advertising currently. Actually, we have interviews
We have
today.
2 interviews today.
Yeah.
so Mike is going fully into zone, complete code enforcement officer and no zoning, okay, so, and then we're gonna have a straight up new code enforcement officer.
No,
Zoning
Zoning.
officer to replace
Excuse me,
Mike.
no zoning officer, sorry, misspoke, so, okay. The next one would be the part-time planner, 119.
It's just I gotta be able to sign determinations.
Yeah.
guys.
Yep.
That's all that is. There's no money with it.
Yep, same thing on 120, basically, yep.
Yep, 120 is just our standard seasonal
Mhm.
hire resolution.
Mhm.
These guys worked here in the past.
The one has, yes, Josh, she's a return, and then Annabella is brand new, and we're excited to welcome her.
Nice,
Good.
okay, and then,
Just a quick note. Again, I ask that we get copies of the resumes for the town board members so that we know who we're hiring and a little bit about them.
So can we just talk about that a second? So, and 121 was put on here because it's really, I don't think it's ready yet unless you guys can. do
Yeah,
it
based
before.
on,
Yeah, I sent an email this morning. So the planning board and zoning board both have vacant positions, alternate positions, that I would strongly encourage you guys to interview before you appoint those. For seasonal labor positions, my understanding was you guys don't need to interview those, right? I mean, we're filling, and we gotta keep up. But
Yeah.
like resolution 121,
is that where you were?
I recommend you.
That's
hold
what
off on that.
initiated the
Yeah.
comment, yeah. I
So-
think that we ought to know who.
Should we pull 121
Or
for
lay
this?
it over, or whatever you wanna do. So,
Just pending, and I can clearly state that it's just pending the chance for the town board to meet these applicants and speak to them individually, because I think with discussions that we've had individually and that I've had with you, Doug, I think there's a feeling that the board would like to have some oversight. Go back to that role of oversight of those, just to meet them, just so we know who
Yeah,
we're
we know
talking
who we're
about.
hiring and we know
So
what
we
we're
have the
talking about.
face before we
Yeah.
approve the resolution. So, and we're gonna work on, Lindsay and I will work on setting up a,
And I think-
meeting for that.
Even some of the other positions, like if you're gonna hire a
Zoning officer.
zoning officer, it'd just be nice to know a little bit of history about the person and who they are, and
so
rather than just coming into the office and seeing somebody and saying, hello, how you doing? And,
So let's talk about that for a second, because realistically, like, for instance, I have interviews today with 2 zoning officers. I can't have a meeting and have you guys.
My comment is not that I want to interfere with the process.
Mhm.
I just want to know a little bit about the person you're hiring.
See the
That's all.
resume.
I have a
So resume
suggestion-
would
I
be
have a
fine.
suggestion.
Resume's
No.
fine,
Yeah,
yeah, but
resume would be
after
fine.
the fact, I don't care. I just
So,
would like to
Okay.
know that
Yes.
this person is
I
a
could
town
do some
resident.
type of welcome email to everybody once we have them hired, so you get to know them a little bit better, whether it's
Absolutely.
a little bit
That's
of
fine.
background, who they are, just, you know,
That's my
maybe even a
point.
picture.
Or if you
snap
got the
one of
resume, just
those.
attach your resume
So
to
the
it.
only thing about the resume,
Private
Lindsay and I have been
information.
talking about that,
Yeah.
then you have the person's confidential
Okay.
information. You have their address, you have their
Okay.
phone number, you have
Yeah.
their work
Yeah,
history.
yeah. I agree,
It gets-
understand.
putting
Or
that
we
on
could
the,
do a bio, we could do
I
a
think
real,
we
one-
could
we
do
could
a
do
bio.
a synopsis or something or other.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Just a couple lines about who they are and,
Just so you know who you're
Yeah, you
running
know,
into when you.
exactly.
visit
Or just
them.
wipe that out, send out the history, employment history, and, I mean,
you can work on that, you can figure that out. But I think the point is that,
Whatever
just so we
works.
know who
Of course,
the people are
yeah.
a little bit, you know? I mean, we don't, as board members, we don't get to interact with them or see them that often, and it'd just be nice to know
It
who.
would be nice, yeah, I agree with you.
Okay, so our next finance-related one is 123, the full-time clerk for highway. Did we lose the part-time clerk? Is that what that was earlier? Okay, so now we're gonna have 2 full-time clerks over there.
Yeah, so this is just a request to town board, because it was budgeted as a part-time position. However, with the quality of candidates and just the workload over there, it's identified that they need a full-time clerk. So that's just authorizing us to hire someone full-time versus the part-time.
I think Jim will be, some point asking for another, person in the, water department too, so they're having difficulty keeping up, so. I thought he was gonna be on here. He told me earlier this morning he was, but must be he decided against
It was for a while, but,
it. No,
so.
Okay,
Especially those meter exchanges.
but that's not,
Yeah.
that's just throwing that out.
and the checking for the lead, all that stuff, so.
Yeah.
Okay, the additional lifeguard positions. I had one question about that. I thought they were going to be, maybe I misunderstood, YMCA employees?
They are.
They
So
are,
I would like
okay.
to speak on this just a little bit more. It has no financial impact.
Okay,
It just gives us the flexibility to schedule some of our employees less hours instead of having 9 lifeguards scheduled at 30 to 40 hours.
okay,
If we add 5 more, I can bring on 15 or 16-year-olds who maybe only want to work 10 hours a week.
okay.
So it just provides flexibility with the hours, still staying within our,
But they're
Okay.
still YMCA employees, or are they town employees?
nope, town employees.
Town employees.
But I think where you're going is, so during the day when the camp is operational, the YMCA is providing the lifeguards. Non-day camp,
Oh.
the town still has to
Yeah.
provide lifeguards for the
Oh,
operation
I
of the
missed
beach.
that. Okay, yes, okay, now I understand. Got it. Okay. 125 is the next one. That's the discussion that we had previously about allocating money from the unassigned funds to those 2 capital projects. Any questions on that? And Doug, you're gonna outline budgets for the capital projects at our next finance meeting, right?
Which is not next week, it's the week after,
Yeah,
right?
you have time.
27th.
Yeah.
27th, yes.
You need to do it now, right now.
which is also the meeting.
Any more
we're
hours
discussing.
Okay, any questions on 126, the Canandaigua Shores Winter Maintenance Agreement? Or whatever, sorry, Sunset Ridge, whatever it is.
There should not be a financial impact on that, I don't think Jim's on there. That's been hanging out for quite a long time, it's relative to Sunset Ridge, but essentially, the Sunset Ridge, if it ever gets built, phase 3, 4, which is the highest side of that development, up closest to Hopewell, if you were looking at the map. The Sunset Ridge HOA would pay Hopewell for the maintenance, snow plowing only, of that road, even though it's a town dedicated road. The reason is because it's really only accessible off of the town Hopewell side. You don't have to send a truck all the way up and around to get to it. But
What's the status of that project?
it's held up because of this. They cannot get their sign off on preliminary approval because this hasn't been approved. Once this is approved, there were 20 conditions. This is the biggest one. There's a couple small little things. And then they're in for final phase 1 to get started now. But they can't get final phase 1 until the preliminary is signed.
And they redesigned those roads a little bit so that there were not 4 houses coming out.
Oh, yeah, thank you for bringing that, just so everybody knows, because I put that in my AR. So I had showed you those private roads that they can't they really can't do based on our code. There's one on each of those sections where there's enough room to put a driveway directly into the cul-de-sac, and then the other two parcels will each have a shared driveway that will cross the property boundary between the two parcels. So quick, easy fix. It meets our code because at that point it's one shared driveway serving two houses, and they
Instead
can
of
go
a
on-
private
they can go on
drive.
instead of a private road.
Yeah, private road.
So that'll go ahead that way.
Yep.
Okay.
And sidewalks was the other thing that they were missing. I want to
Yeah,
make sure we
that's
keep
the-
on top of
yeah,
that. That was the
that's
other
gotta
big
go on
one
the
that they were
plan,
missing,
so.
so.
Yes.
So that may work for the people that initially buy, but in 4 years, when those houses turn over, those people will be calling saying, we want.
Well,
It's
it's not a road though, Terry,
It's a
it's just a
driveway.
shared driveway. So we have those all over the town where you have two houses that have a road that comes up, or a
Right.
driveway that comes up in between that serves
Oh,
both.
okay.
That's all it'll be.
Well, they'd be plowing their own driveway.
Yeah.
Yes.
So-
Father.
And that would be in the deed as well, that.
Yeah. They'll be.
So we'd be protected.
Yeah.
Okay, do we need to close this meeting before we go into the bid?
Yeah.
Okay, so, can I get a motion to conclude this meeting of the,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. So let me stop the recording of that. After further discussion, I'd like to move to reopen the finance committee meeting today. Can I get a motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, great. All in favor of reopening the finance committee meeting?
Aye.
Okay,
I don't
great.
think I'm on a finance committee meeting.
You're a town
Finance
board
committee.
member, so,
You're
Jared, I
concerned
think you had
resident.
something you wanted to
Well,
bring
that's why
up.
I'm not
So,
voting.
yeah, one discussion with increased costs that we're gonna be seeing for the Uptown bid. It's important that we move forward with that and have an open discussion to kind of set our structure and also set our next meeting, our next full meeting of the bid. So do you have this? I do not have the structure and the layout structure in front of me.
Yeah, so basically, it's, the town board's rules of procedure basically says that we're gonna follow the town board's rules of procedure unless a committee or other entity adopts their own, right? So that's something that you can figure out in the future. But specifically for the Uptown Business Improvement District, you have essentially, right, you need somebody to run the meetings, you need a chair or president. I'm scrambling for the terminology, I'll tell you that in a second.
I think supervisor is president of the bid.
Right, I think that, and then you would need technically like a vice president, secretary, treasurer, technically, for like you would for any other not-for-profit or other organization, so that basic organizational stuff. And then in terms of action items, we can talk about that at a future time, but just even starting with the basic stuff, so that we can then schedule a meeting, official meeting for the Uptown Business Improvement District, and start to define some of this stuff, because it's kind of starting from scratch. It's a blank piece of paper currently.
So I believe you wanted to have that organizational meeting on Monday, April 24th, before the special town board meeting?
Yeah, we're gonna roll them together.
Correct, that was the plan.
At
We were
5
gonna have
PM
a-
or 6 PM was the Uptown bid?
The plan was 5 PM, but we could do it as at the beginning of the town board meeting too, so we don't have a special meeting. It's not gonna take a lot of time, I don't think.
Your call, whatever you want.
What are the
Is there-
meetings happening on the 24th?
The special town board
That's gonna
meeting
be a
regarding the
special.
Ononda report and the Brickyard Road study.
That's what they you and I talk about today, if that's it. And then you may be doing interviews potentially, right, that same night, potentially, is that?
Yes, if I can set it up maybe with Lindsay to interview our two planning, our CBA and
CBA
our
and planning.
alternate. our
This is how the
alternate
sausage
candidates.
gets made, everybody, so.
Yeah.
I think Lindsay was anticipating that the upland presentation could take a little bit of time.
Yes,
So maybe keep it, like, I had it already blocked out for 5 o'clock for the bid meeting and 6 o'clock
Okay.
for the special town board
All right.
meeting. Because MRB is doing that whole
all right,
presentation.
so let's
and
keep it, like that's what I had originally in my thoughts, so let's keep it
Okay.
as that.
5, so we have a 5 o'clock Uptown bid organizational meeting, correct? And then we have a 6 o'clock special town board meeting to discuss uplands in Ononda,
The MRB
Brickyard Road,
presentation, the
and
traffic
interview candidates for ZBA and planning board, correct?
Can one just flow into the other? All
Yeah,
one
of course.
meeting?
Yeah.
So there's
I'm going to the bathroom in between them.
They can, we don't need to
Too much
break.
information.
We don't need to break and reorganize those meetings.
What's that word?
Uptown, Ononda, or
So you got
Upland,
Ononda-
Uptown, Ononda. Blend Ononda.
So I think we can, right now, since our town code does spell out that I'm president of the bid, I can call that meeting.
Yeah, so let me just touch on that, because I just looked it up. So the district plan that we had to adopt when the Uptown Business Improvement District was created, let me just read it to you, it's brief. The board of directors of the Uptown Bid shall consist of the 5 elected members of the town council of the town of Canandaigua, comprised of the town supervisor of the town of Canandaigua, and the 4 town council members of the town of Canandaigua. The town supervisor shall serve as the chief executive officer of the Uptown Bid. The board of directors retains the right to assign certain responsibilities as needed from time to time. So ideally, if you wanted to have a brief conversation here today about maybe making a recommendation for that meeting, that we can formalize, maybe whether or not you call it chair or president, it doesn't much matter, but who's going to basically preside over those meetings, which I think it's implied it's the town supervisor, but you could clarify that. Then basically a vice or a deputy, whatever you're gonna call it. And then ideally you would have a secretary and treasurer. Generally speaking, would be made up of town board members, but doesn't have to be because it's not that specific. Right.
That's what I was wondering, are we intending to encourage some town residents to be involved with the bid? I mean,
Well, not
property
actually
owners
on
in the
board,
area?
Because not on the board,
No.
because that's the town board. But
Okay.
you could have dialogue input, just like anything else.
Right.
All these meetings have to be advertised because we're gonna have a quorum, right?
Yes,
Correct.
correct.
So they will be, or however we decide in our meeting to set the schedule, they could be they could be monthly, they could be quarterly, they could be weekly.
Let's not make them weekly.
They could be any of that.
Okay,
So
that's probably as far
Do we
in the
want-
woods as we want to really go on that right now, so.
let's do this. I'm comfortable serving in that role. I think that the code spells that out. So by the next meeting, we'll open the meeting on the 24th. And then we will take nominations we'll take discussion on the other positions, vice president, secretary, and treasurer, and we can resubmit whether it's, president, vice president, however we want to call it, but whoever is going to be the vice for that. So think about it, who you might want to see, or if you yourself would be interested in serving in that capacity. And then we can have those discussions at the meeting. We can vote on those, and then we would have our board installed and created. And then we can continue with our meeting to set our schedule and our agenda for the next.
Yes, Jean.
Question. Secretary, treasurer, do those have to be board members?
No, so,
Or-
no,
That's what I was
wondering.
So they don't have to be board members. So I guess if the Uptown Business Bid said that the town clerk was going to be the secretary, she'd have to do it. So
I just need to know.
Well, we'll make it the receiver of taxes, we'll have to do this.
well, and so the other thing I was going to say is, right, from a treasurer perspective, one of you could be treasurer, that's absolutely fine, but it's going to be super simple because we operate it as a fund. So you have the information already, it's in your packets, so we just pull that out separately and you could report that out, so.
I think Jean would do a wonderful job as being the treasurer and secretary.
You can
Treasurer too?
She takes care of
Okay.
money now.
I don't want to get too much into detail on it yet, because we didn't advertise the meeting, so let's do that
think
on the
about who we want
24th.
where and how.
I did want to also ask,
How often
since
do
we're
we want
talking
to-
about
Sorry to
that
speak
week.
out now, but didn't,
I mean, it's fine. I mean, it just, I have new people in my office that I need
Yeah.
to train. and
Yeah.
It changes.
Organize
So-
workload and.
and you'd be
possibly-
training them about the bid.
So let me just to recap for our bid meeting on the 24th, 5 o'clock, we will take discussion on who the vice president, secretary, and treasurer will be. We will we'll nominate, we'll vote on people for those positions. We will set our meeting schedule for the remainder of the year. Think of how often, think of when it would be best to meet. And we will have discuss an outline for our first agenda items for that. We'll follow our regular meeting format that we have established, but as far as agenda items, goals, things that we will have to discuss, because we really need to discuss we're in our infancy, where are we going, what are we starting with first? So
So-
be prepared for those.
I think from an action, you don't have to make any decisions now, but if you think about it, I think we keep trying to bring to your attention, there's a dire need for a streetlight. And so that needs to be one of the priority things that you guys talk about is the uptown business presentation.
So in our advertisements of that meeting, perhaps we should indicate a note if there are any citizens interested in serving in any of those capacities.
Well, they can't serve as the,
Secretary or treasurer, I think we just said that they
they
could.
could.
I'm just wondering, because how else would they know that that's even an
Yep.
opportunity if we don't, if we don't put it in the public information, so. So I feel like that should be in there as well, so.
Because those are kind of outside the board of directors position anyway.
Mhm.
They have more support of the board of directors.
So that was secretary, treasurer, and vice president, those three positions, or?
No, I think your president, vice
It should be
president
from the
has to be
Right.
town board.
Okay, so just secretary, treasurer.
Right.
Okay, that's
Now,
fine, I
the
just like
rules
it.
haven't been spelled out yet specifically to say that, but
Mhm.
that's.
I know, I'm just thinking we should indicate or you could just say maybe if any member of the public is interested in a leadership position in the uptown bid, please contact the clerk's office or the supervisor before the meeting, something like that.
I don't know if leadership word, but we'll figure it out.
To that point, I kind of sit here thinking that it might be important to have a business person from the bid participating.
That's what I had said before, and they mentioned that we should organize it first and then start
And
inviting
I'm
them.
comfortable with that. I mean, I don't carry the order, but I think it would be important to have
absolutely.
somebody participate.
I
Well,
100%
that
agree
would
with
be part of
that.
our discussion as far as who at the meeting on Monday, who do we want to approach to serving on this committee and in what role? Maybe a business
Developer.
business member have a role,
Mhm.
and what other roles we want to bring in and include in the discussion process. How big we want it to see who we want to include.
Anything's possible. You may have to ask the town board to modify that, but seriously, I mean, that's, you gotta think in that perspective,
Yeah.
because you're not serving as a town board member in that capacity. You have to ask the town board to modify the law. It's fine, whatever, we can do that.
Right.
So, because I have to go, I'm sorry, but just on that week, the week of the 24th, we also have that looming joint LDC meeting on the 25th. Do we have any further details on time or location of that?
I believe, and it's still being finalized, but I believe it is now going to be at Outhouse Park in Building 100. Joint between the city council and the town board.
Can we get a pirate
Do we have
ship
a
instead?
time?
Yeah, I think it's.
The weather's
6,
good.
But.
And then you have a
whatever.
meeting on the 27th.
Town board on one, city council on the other.
Yes, our finance meeting's on the 27th to review the community
That's
choice,
community choice.
Yes.
to review their proposal.
And that's where you're going to break down the capital projects. The 27th.
Oh, at the 27th, not the
27th.
LDC meeting.
Yeah, no, 27th. No, you're not tell them about our capital project.
I gotta be at a planning board meeting.
So, okay, so yeah, the 27th at 10:45, we're gonna do the CCA and the breakdown on the capital project funding, so. All right, and then the next finance after that will just be the normal finance before our town board meeting, so that'll be May 11th at 10:45. And we can determine on April 27th if we want to have that second finance meeting in May as well.
We don't have any other town finance meetings until May?
No, April 27th,
Oh, I'm sorry.
10:45.
I'm glad I asked.
That's the one that's the
Yeah,
CCA
yeah.
and the breakdown on the capital project funding.
10:45,
10:45,
correct?
yeah, on the 27th. And then the next one will be May 11th at 10:45, which will be kind of the normal one like this one. Unless Jared decides to do something else at the last second.
I do everything I do it for you.
Oh, thanks, Jared.
Because the bid is separate from the board,
Town
Town
board
board.
is separate from the
The
bid
bid.
board. Do they need their own agenda?
yes,
Mhm.
agenda minutes.
Yeah.
We'll work on that.
We have to have more discussions on that.
Okay,
It's not all gonna flow.
It's gonna be.
It won't all flow, however,
We'll make it work,
yeah.
don't worry.
so if there's no other questions, then can I have somebody interested in closing out the
So
finance
moved.
committee?
Second.
Okay, great. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we're closed. You can turn it off again.